how do you take all those really big ideas about things like social justice, oppression, marginalization, racism, and how do you introduce those ideas into the counseling session? Initially, the ideas for the book and the videos actually started years ago when I was just had finished my own education. I'd gotten my master's, and I remember being really confused about how exactly I was going to create a model of practice for myself. How was I going to be intentional in my own practice? And I remember going to a coffee shop and sitting down for an entire afternoon and just promising myself I was not going to leave that coffee shop until I had some sense of what my model of practice was. I know sometimes we think as clinicians we're office bound. We're only supposed to deal with the person in a very narrow kind of way. What I've realized over the years of my practice is I do end up in people's kitchens. I do end up in residential facilities, institutional settings, sometimes meeting a kid or a family in a shelter or on the street. And the techniques that we learn, and which the videos show and are in the book, were meant to adapt not only to the clinical sort of one-on-one session or with the family inside an office, but to also be useful to us when we're actually meeting people in their own homes or outside of that office space. What we've done with each of these approximately 20-minute videos is to try and bring it right down to the core things that we want to emphasize about this social ecological model of counseling.
So, Julia, I wonder if you can tell me a little bit about how you spend your weekends with your friends. What do you do?
We hang out. We hang out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun showing people the videos. They always know that it's real counselors doing the work, but what they're sometimes surprised by is that the people who are acting are actually actors. I think partly that's because we've really matched the actors to the particular situation, so it looks very authentic.
I'm really thinking about going back to Brazil. I
But
want
I
to
don't
go
want to
back,
go back. You
but
don't
we
listen
have
to
to.
me.
I know.
But I don't want to.
I know you don't want to, but maybe we have to go back.
In the video with Julia, people have really loved just how incredibly engaging she is. And when she says, it's fun, it's more fun to be with these boys, these dangerous kids on the street, it really packs a wallop to us as counselors, because it's very clear that we might bring our bias that we want to get this kid off the street and out of trouble. But what Julia is saying is, I have no other choice. This makes sense to me.
You told me that some of these guys are in trouble with the law sometimes. They do things that the law gets involved.
Yeah, sometimes.
Are any of them involved in gangs?
Maybe.
I don't know what can I do for her, because she never hear me. Sometimes I ask her, oh yes, we can go to a movie, or you could
I
stay
do.
here. Yeah, and you could stay here, help me with, to help me at home, or help with her brother and sister, and stay at home with the family. But she prefer to hang out with them.
Yeah,
So
it's funnier.
she
Why
said
do you-
it's funny, but
Fun.
it's fun.
Fun, yeah.
They have fun.
When you're watching me work with Rebecca, who's being seen at a mental health clinic, and I'm a child protection worker who's trying to anticipate potential problems that she's going to have with a new baby, which you actually see she's 7 months pregnant. It seems what really captures people is just how incredibly good Rebecca is at conveying her absolute disdain for being in counseling. What do you need to continue to do to keep these changes moving ahead in your life? Do you have a sense of that? So you can continue to parent Heather in the way that you want to parent her. What more sort of needs to continue here?
What do you mean, what needs to continue here? Like, none of my life moves on a continuous path. Obviously, you don't have kids. I mean, otherwise you'd know. There's nothing
That is not
linear about it.
When you really have someone who's basically saying, I don't want to be here and I want to fire you as the counselor. If anything captures people from that tape, it's the way she tries to push me away as the counselor. And perhaps what I do to not oppose her, but to say, yes, I'm going to try and get out of your face as fast as I can and out of your life. And together we work on that. Tell me a little bit what was so different from the way that you're parenting, what you're striving to be as a parent.
I just want my kids to be able to be kids, and that's it, right?
Am I hearing you say you weren't a kid, that you weren't given that permission?
A lot of the time.
In the video of Martha, which is of a 75-year-old woman who's dealing with the elder abuse by her son on her and the financial abuse that she's suffering, and she's in subsidized housing, what you see there, which is so captivating, is just the vulnerability that she shows. And the way that the counselor, Wanda, engages with her and then links her to what is a meaningful resource to her. And that's what's really interesting. It's not Wanda doing all the work here. It's that she links Martha to her pastor.
Like Pastor said, I need counseling. I need help because it's been a long time, and after a while you get scared. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know.
And I would like to have you and Pastor Armstrong to help us both.
Okay. So, and that's exactly what I want to have some conversation about, is with respect to how we can problem solve some of these issues.
Not only is that sort of unique in terms of these videos that you don't often see the counselor playing that advocacy role, but what's very clear is how powerful it is. It becomes the intervention, so that Wanda is really working to, get Martha back into her network, but not just talking about it, but actually showing how to do it.
I'm not familiar with your church, but I am really interested in understanding a lot more about it. I'm especially interested in knowing what the church has meant in your life.
And that's what's really powerful. And that's also what we know from our research on resilience, that is such a core aspect of the social ecological model of understanding how you transition, not terminate people out of counseling, but transition them onto the next phases of their life.
I think it's important for us to talk first about finding a way to reconnect Martha with the church again, because Pastor Armstrong, one of the things that I have learned in my conversation with Martha is that she has had quite a history with the church, and it has had a lot of meaning for her through her whole life. And I think the second thing that we need to talk about is how you might play a role in providing counseling services for...
I think what you're doing right now, though, Wanda, is an awesome thing. We can tag team, or if you'd like to pass her on to me, I'd be more than happy to help with that. The second issue is what do we do with someone who's over 45? Does our church have anything?
In the tape of Brian, who is a youth living in shelter for homeless youth, you see him actually working first with his youth worker, then with the counselor Allison. You see a session with his mother, and then you also see Allison and his youth worker all together, which is something that you rarely see. We talk about collaboration, but what does it actually look like? How do you actually make that happen? When you're the counselor, you want to invite in other professionals and other people who are important to a child.
I'd really like to know a little bit more about what you think that would feel like to him, to have his dad call him stupid.
Al needs to change. I probably even need to change. But it's not just us. He needs to try.
Right.
He needs to be a part of the world and our family.
Okay. Is that the first time you heard your mom say that your dad needs to change?
Yeah.
So are you able to, can you tell your mom right now kind of what are the things that you also would like to see different if it were to ever work for you at home again?
I mean, the only thing I see that we need to change would be arguing a lot. I mean, that's something that we just both have to agree on. I mean, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Can you say that directly to your mom? Are you okay with that?
It's very difficult to sort of just jump in and get this sort of perfect textbook intervention. That's not what these videos are about. These videos are sort of the solution to that. They're meant to sort of just show in a little more authentic way what it is to be a more social, ecologically minded counselor.